Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 with the Road to 56 mod. And of course, we're playing as Germany. We need to expand our fuel production. We're not using a lot. Most fuel usage right now are some ships out here training. And so we're barely keeping up. Now we do have little import. Oh no, it's chromium. Little import of some fuel going in our convoys, but no fuel coming in. So, we're going to be the situation once we're really properly at war. Okay. Oh, we just got that one. Army focus. Well, we need to come over here and do... Yeah, that's using that up. Let's do construction. I so love that fuel is now no longer something that required to build things. It's operationally based. We're going to start expanding our ground forces, tanks. Well, let's get some more fighters in production. And disperse industry, which will get some more fighters into production. Another armor division. Yeah, we give it to Guderian. We'll start a Rommel-based core here soon. Two-sided economics. Now, side with the autarchs or with the technocrats. We're going to go with the autarchs. Ability, construction speed down. Rearmament's a tricky thing for Germany. They have to balance out government expenditures on things that are only useful to the government, arms. Meaning you pay a factory worker, he makes money. What is he going to spend it on? Is he going to go buy a tank? If you're building cars or you're building toasters, the factory worker likely wants to buy one of those things. You know, a car, got to save up for that. But a toaster or whatever, so that's something that people can spend their money on. But building armaments, a lot of it, rearming in the scale of Germany, has the potential to become very inflationary. So they have to think of ways of getting the money out of the economy. And eventually, and I guess we're going to see some of that here. Maybe I should save the talk for that, is establish Volkswagen. That was a way to get the money out of the economy without really without increasing I'm not sure how much I like those national characters. Keep looking for here for something I want to get. Training time. We'll get Keitel in. He'll reduce our training time for our divisions. Hey Rick, how you been? Rick has a good YouTube channel. He's been playing a lot of Command and Strategic Command. I almost said Command and Conquer. But you could look him up on... You can go ahead and post a link to your YouTube channel if you want, Rick. If it needs to be approved, Arno, go ahead and approve it. So you might want to check his channel out sometime. We don't want to do revolutionary. Thanks, Rick. You liked my watching me get invaded with a Normandy-style super invasion. Lessons from history. Let's see, division attack. Generate world tension goal, brinksmanship, global order. Well, see, I don't need this yet, so looking for things that... Okay. Melting pot, stability. We don't like lack of stability. We don't like lack of stability. Cultural norms, factory output. The greater good. They just don't like this lack of stability. Because we're not doing great now. I mean, we're not like at 100%. I think you got to rethink some of these things. Either don't give such good benefits and get rid of the negatives or something. Yeah, post the link to your YouTube channel, Rick. People don't need to go watch all your videos now, but they can go over there and subscribe to it. Okay, limited conscription, disarm, extensive. Don't need to do that right now. Okay, well, they got a lot of armor, hard attack, reliability, soft attack, max speed, reliability. I like that. Amelia Earhart disappears, yes. She was not a good pilot. Not that she deserved to go missing. Yeah, so go over there, check it out, subscribe, help him out. You don't know how much it helps out a small YouTuber if you just subscribe to his channel. Even if you're like not into Strategic Command and only want to watch Hearts of Iron, fine. He does some Hearts of Iron too, as well. So just recently, just checking his channel, I've been doing Marco Polo Bridge Incident, Strategic Command. So help that out. See, it's good to help out somebody like Rick, because someday we may do a collaboration or something, and it will help grow my channel if he has a bunch of viewers instead of just have viewers from, you know, that have found it from my channel. So it's enlightened self-interest as well as being kind. Now let's go over to Pittsburgh there. Okay, we've got some more synthetic oil coming. 2 more that will help with this already. We're not doing a naval focus campaign, so let's go back to some more armaments factories. Hello, Optimistic Knowledge. How you doing? Yeah, it's been a little while since I've seen you. Okay, so we got that, that's coming now. We were talking about here, so let's get heavy fighters. United Front, defense. Well, I guess the war here is over. Yeah, with the communists. They're all united fronting against Japan. The Ma versus the PRC. Side with the autarchs, yes. Okay, now give autarch seat in the government. Autarchic government, which will research speed, land doctrine speed, recruitable population, max factories and state plus 10%. Construction speed slower, yeah. Military factory construction speed faster, so yeah, that's where we were sort of heading with this. Get this sort of done and out of the way, so that as 38 comes, we can pursue grabbing up Austria and parts of Czechoslovakia and other things. Well, Arno, his title is Optimistic Knowledge, so of course he passed. Knowledge would get you past the test, and he's optimistic. I don't have to question, did you pass? Now, if you put depressed ignorance, then I might go, hey, did you, with depressed ignorance, did you pass? No. Optimistic Knowledge, of course he passed. Yeah, see, don't even have to. He's optimistic. Okay, so we got that. Research time. Fuel gain from refineries, so we want to do oil processing, which will help with this level of how much fuel we have, current fuel, daily gain, base gain, how much we can store is based on the silos. Move him down there. Now the Prussian border with Poland is fully occupied, though it's just a defensive border right now. Hex base. Well, I grew up with hex base, so it's a good style. That. Okay, we are at risk of another country assuming leadership in our Axis faction. Oh, well, let's stop this. I thought that would have stopped when the war stopped. Westland, modify land lease, there we go. So we're going to cancel these, cancel. Okay. They will accept. We don't need to keep giving them stuff. They're no longer at war. Leadership, okay, deployed manpower. So they got more for our... Well, they're sort of far away from it still to some degree, but not used to seeing that. Okay. Expendable labor. There's construction speed, which will help balance out some of those negatives in the autarkic state. Yeah, we should probably deploy more troops. So we can come here. Well, let's look at our... Okay, we've got enough artillery, so we're going to add a division and add a division. We'll deploy these. Combat system. Pretty good. Not exactly sure which. Yeah, if you're talking about the AI, it sucks. But and supposedly getting better with this version. I haven't played at all into any wars except for playing with the Spanish Civil War, and we saw both sides do sort of smart moves with the Spanish Civil War, but that's a limited case, and we're seeing a bit here now with Japan and China. You know, things like does Japan let Inner Mongolia here, Manchukuo, get taken? From the actual mechanics of the war battle, I generally like this stuff. I don't obviously have something to click on that has the different. Well, I guess we can click here. That has the different tactics that then counter other tactics. You know, elastic defense. I think it's generally good. Because, quite honestly, because as a player, I don't pick, does it do tactic blitz next, or does it do tactic delay next, or unexpected thrust? Since I don't get to pick those when the battles are happening, and not that I should, particularly at this scale, but because I don't pick that, I don't pay a whole lot of attention. Yeah, like I say, this, and that's what I figured. But you were talking about reading the description as given. You know, the ideas of an elastic defense or the delay and those types of things, breakthroughs. That all sounds good to me. Just how they interact with, you know, breakthrough interact with elastic defense, because obviously one's a defensive tactic, the other, or delay is another defensive. It interact with each other. Quite honestly, I really can't give you an intelligent answer on that, because I have not dug deep into how well it works, because I don't have a lot of control over it, and I don't mod that. Not right now, Arno. I think standard divisions are what we need to focus on first. 5, 3. I want to do a little more. Synthetic factories. Because I want to give you intelligent answers if I really have them, but I don't have details like that. Okay. I think we can even increase infantry division production a little more with what we have here. Let's throw on one more factory onto, because we only have one right now and they're big expensive things. We need, which is going to cost us more trade for rubber. Yeah, we can get it from Siam. I want to get the civil factories from Austria and Czechoslovakia is what I'm hoping to do. Yeah, I've looked at it a little more in Hearts of Iron 3, quite honestly, and sort of presuming to some degree it's the same in 4 when they rebuilt the engine. Yeah, I don't have a good critique on it, and I don't remember somebody posting a good, you know, why it's bad kind of thing, like, oh well, it needs to do this better, or this is something, you know, good or bad or whatever. Let's denounce the Versailles Treaty. Stability justify available. Well, frick, monthly opinion, stability, fascist support. Yeah, well, now Gary Grigsby work is, I've played his War in the East. And his units are one thing. They're a panzer unit, or they're an infantry unit, or they're whatever they may be. And yes, you can, there is some, you know, break into brigades instead of divisions. But where this is, you know, infantry and artillery, and you can come here and set this up and have infantry and tanks. And you could add a tank battalion, light or heavy or something, to a standard infantry division. So you have, in some ways, more nuances in its formulation. So, you know, I guess that's the best I can say about the stuff. I respect his work. I think his work is generally good. I don't know, and so because you have to blend things that may not as easily blend. You know, what is, if a division has tanks, is it a panzer division or is it an infantry division? And then how well does that work out with stuff? And so, you know, I don't want to come off the sound like, oh, I know everything. No, I don't. And no, we don't want to create new. Let's just increase, yeah, medium bombers. Where I've done a lot of modding in Hearts of Iron 3 and some in Hearts of Iron 4. Most of the stuff what I've been modding are things like national effects, like these things up here, adding leaders that give other effects to the game, do a lot of that type of stuff, make event-based moddings that work with the game, a lot of that type of stuff. And that's where I've actually looked very deep into it and know that very well. I can't spout it off the top of my head because I haven't been digging into it recently, but we may need to set up an armored, well, an army group. No, an army. Panzer army. That's what we're going to need to maybe set up a panzer army. Do we have a panzer army general? Well, modal would not be what was historically at that time. He would be it, I guess, on Kluge. So let's do that, and we will have Rommel here, and we will move Guderian to the Panzer Army. And so those kind of stuff I could get into more detail, but and that I can think and talk about with some competence. We're falling further and further behind on our fuel. Well, thank you, Optimistic Knowledge. Yeah, and that's the stuff, because I've touched a lot of that area, and it's been a while since I worked on my Hearts of Iron 4 version of it, but I've looked into that, and that's, I don't want to call myself out as some great expert on it that I know everything, but that is where I do have fairly good knowledge. And I really and actually, quite honestly, now that they've re-added back in the decision system, these are in essence decisions, meaning we can take them at any sort of time that once their conditions are suitable, meaning it could be during 1 month of 1937 a decision is available. If you don't deal in it with it, it goes away because it's only for that time period. Or it could be something that's open-ended, so long as Germany is at peace or Germany is at war or whatever it might be. It can be an open-ended decision, and it could be a one-time decision or a repeatable decision. That versus an event and that sort of takes place. And I've been thinking a little bit more about this. Should some of my events be decisions? Maybe. Because definitely an event is something that happens, like, Walter Wever crashes in an airplane. That's an event. And then you have, because that event happens, you may have choices to make since that event happened, but it's forced upon you because, hey, the guy is no longer around. Who are you going to get to replace him? So that clearly, to me, would be an event that pops up on the screen. And whether you do a newspaper notification that goes around the world or not, that if you do too many of the players get upset with, just because it's too much stuff popping up in their face. But you definitely, some of the stuff should be events. Some of my things that I created might be better turned around to be decisions, now that they have that back. So there's a lot you can play with in Hearts of Iron 4 that doesn't have, it isn't there in 3. Okay, we want to get to here to be able to do aerial mine laying, because we're going to maybe do some sub mine laying, but I want to try this out. And so to get there, let's see, and what I don't like about this is what year dates, and I have to come up here. Okay, 36, that looks like we can do this now. Yeah, so we will do this now. Get the magnetic mine in production. Design a super cruiser. Well, Arno, I'm staying away from naval. Since I have shipyards, I'm going to obviously complete the current construction, and then I'm probably going to build subs, and I'm mostly going to stay away from it as I get more, like, I think we'll get some shipyards from here and maybe in Memel. As we get some more shipyards and conquer them, yeah, I'll increase the France, Britain come into alliance, so they're starting to get more of their people. Super subs then. Well, we'll probably see about doing a mine laying sub, because I did a mine laying campaign with Britain, and it was mostly ineffective because none of the sides challenged my my naval supremacy that much. So it was sort of like they avoided, you know, mines were not useful because they avoided, the enemy avoided contact with them. No, we're not going to spend our experience to push this. Yeah, no, because we need it for reorganizing division, you know, adding to divisions. So we'll see about that when it comes time to actually make subs, and we'll see what's going on. But I'm not going to push it right now. We denounce the Versailles Treaty. Okay, purge political opponents. Combine their political power gain. Fix partisan. We'll definitely do that. But I think... Okay, we can't... okay, we need a larger army, though it's... Well, now it's 38, so let's... And we do have this thing popping up again. Let's see what we can deploy. Deploy, 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 deploy. Deploy, deploy, deploy. Now we can do Anschluss. Union. Okay. Let's see what they're doing. Okay, fund the Vienna College of Technology is what they're researching here. Gain a research slot. Now that isn't going to help me because it doesn't gain me a research slot once we get them. And the Austrian nation with more research doesn't help me. So I don't see a good reason to wait. See, and I don't know all of the stuff that they've done, but if they were doing something that was like expand oil fields, so more oil in Lower Austria, I would probably wait for that effect to straw bag. Germany had bra bag, Austria has straw bag, subsidized straw bag. Okay. I've not specifically heard of straw bag. Germany had bra bag. When you type in bra bag in YouTube, you get, or in Google, you get different results than what you talk about, the Germany's bra bag. Okay, so we're not going to wait on that, I don't think. Hello. Gnome61, good to have you here. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, so let's go, because that will get us more civil factories as well as some military factories, I think. Because yeah, we could use them. Slightly early, we'll go with this. Yugoslavia were class sales, so we could 50 fighters, old ones. Medium bombers, 25. Well, let's approve bombers. Ah, thanks, Optimistic Knowledge. I say I had not heard of that. Brabag was a sort of overall consortium in Germany dealing with oil and synthetic research of that, I believe, as well. Again, you can find the details in Third Reich events because that's all correct. We're going to make Germany great again. Well, we're going to try to create the Greater German Empire, most assuredly. Don't know if it's great again or what, but I do get the reference. Okay, so we're catching up a little bit with the fuel there. Something flashed. Because we're getting more of these made. Yeah, one more. Okay, excavation, which will of course help with our oil because It's all resource efficiency gain. Okay, we've got that. Everything is up to date on this. I am most definitely a infrastructure resource. Okay, flat finish, breakthrough, and yeah, let's. These are all 39, so let's do that. New naval bombers. We'll get there. We'll get there. Because right now with that we have currently we have the 36 naval torpedo bomber. So it won't be till 40 till we get the Arado. We do have maritime patrol, which is probably what you're talking about. We'll get to that soon. For another Dornier model. Super naval bombers. Indian National Congress. Okay, Italy. Okay, Indian National Congress triumphs in provincial elections. I think AZs has conflicting emotions on that. Hungary renounces the Treaty of Trianon. That was basically the one of the post-World War I treaties that limits Hungarian rearmament. And we can now get another, okay, Hungary this time. Last time we had Romania and Bulgaria before getting Hungary in. So we will invite Hungary to our faction. Yay. Now this is early. This is too early historically. I mean, obviously I'm going to take it because I can get it now. I don't see a downside to it. It doesn't really come until maybe Hungary getting this part of Czechoslovakia, but definitely once they get this part of Romania. I don't know really the full. I think it was more this bit here and this bit here. But that's what really gets them into the Axis. Yeah, I'm not going to try to overdo Border Gore, that's for sure. So, generally sort of historical type things. Super naval bombers. Not exactly sure what you're talking about. Talking about these, these guys here? The Falkwolf? Yeah, maybe. Falkwolf C1. We should maybe do that. Yeah, okay. We might get that. I don't know. Okay, Fall of Nanjing. Okay, yeah, maybe we'll see about that. We don't need... I don't know. Anschluss, yes. So now we have Anschluss Union, which gives us a bunch more factories. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to come over here and build another refinery, and let's build a couple of silos. Those will build fast. It's greatly increased our civilian capacity, and it's increased our military production capacity. So let's see what we can do here. We're going to increase fighters and maritime attack. Hey, thanks for following the channel. Increase motorization. Yeah, let's jump this to 5x and increase that one. Why didn't they give us any naval factory? Don't know how useful armored cars will be, but let's get one of those in production. And again, I don't know how useful anti-aircraft. We need to research anti-tanks. And we have heavy fighters. Ooh, we should maybe put those in. Okay, trash these. We'll get to these in a while. Let's put in heavy fighters into production. We'll do 2 of those. There we go. That's a better idea. Now, okay. Prevent Czechoslovakia demands Sudetenland. I think we may wait on that a short while. Not because we're going to come over, establish the Deutsches Arbeitersfront, the DAF. Okay, well, you have the Triple Entente screwed the CP nations after the war. You can't take land away from nations and say you must deal with it. Serbia and Russia started the war. You want to make a variant? I don't know that we're making a variant. We have no air experience to do so, so we're not doing variants right now on any of that. Yeah, well, Serbia definitely starts World War I. That is, in my opinion, without dispute. Let's see, can we get another? Here we go. Don't mind a -1 at all, but -9 is a bit much. Serbia definitely starts the war. Russia does expand the war, most assuredly, by intervening on Serbia's behalf. Germany just comes into its alliance to defend against Russia. It is known that Russia and France have an alliance because Russia, and I quite honestly don't know this, Rick, maybe you do, because Russia goes to war with Austria, meaning it's starting, you know, it hasn't been attacked by Austria-Hungary. Does that mean that the French alliance comes into power or into, you know, effect? Well, once Germany's in there, maybe Germany can't take that chance, so Germany goes after France, thinks it's going to defeat it fast, and then slowly defeat Russia. Germany, the World War I General Staff under Helmut von Moltke, realizes Napoleon's mistake. Napoleon creates his Grand Armée, the Grand Army, and has it basically sort of right in here. Probably at the time, the greatest army ever seen on the face of the planet. It was greater than the Austrian army, which had been one of the greatest armies, but it was the Austrian army was really slow, but it was highly trained, highly well equipped. Napoleon crushes it over and over and over with ragtag forces because he's fast, mobile, and vicious in his attacks. And this is during the revolutionary period when he's invading Italy. But he creates this Grand Armée. It's a great instrument, but it's sitting here and can't get at the poorly defended Britain army-wise because it has the British fleet, which is the greatest naval force created up to that time. And the British naval force continues to be the greatest naval force until the U.S. overtakes it in 1943 or 44, somewhere in there. By 45, the U.S. is clearly the greatest naval force on the planet and is still such. The current U.S. Navy could easily defeat, even though it was much larger, the U.S. Navy in 1945 could probably defeat the Navy before the Navy even knew what happened to it, just because, well, yeah, they even have nuclear cruise missiles, so yeah, they could blast it out of the water. So yeah, probably Britain's submarine fleet could defeat because it has nuclear missiles as well, defeat the U.S. 1945 Navy currently. But so the Grand Armée is this magnificent instrument that Napoleon's created, and he's stymied and he can't use it. If he sends it into France, it's way too big and it's going to starve and is not needed. He could send a corps or two of it down here usefully, maybe. I mean, he does sort of at some point, you know, besieging Lisbon, and it starves to death. The army, besieging Lisbon is starving to death, and then has to fall back into Spain where it has food. So he has this army. What to do with it? What to do with it? Well, Russia's giving him a little bit of trouble, so he decides to go teach Russia a thing or two. Now, he demands Austria and Prussia help him out, including the Spanish army, too, that he's also sort of occupying their country. So there's a Spanish contingent. The Spanish contingent mostly is, I think, on the Baltic Sea area. Prussia moves in, again, into this area. Austria moves more into this area, French supported. But really the big trap, the big thing, because these other sort of support armies both have French divisions in them, if I remember correctly. They do all right, but his main thrust is he's looking for the great decisive battle, his Austerlitz in against the Russians. He sort of has a moment in Gorodino, if I'm saying that right, which is outside of Moscow somewhere here, defeats a Russian army, thinks he's defeated the Russians, moves into Moscow, finds a basically burnt out capital and no food, and starts to starve. So the Austrian or the German high staff realize this and know that if we just plunge armies marching deep and rapid and fast into Russia, even though Germany is highly rail intensive setup, you don't have that in Russia. They realize this. This is something that the later ones don't seem, well, do sort of seem to get, but don't seem to take into account well enough. I think they think trucks can deal with it. But so they know that they should not be, blitzing Russia. They should be moving in and taking provinces, securing the provinces, moving in and taking more and moving, doing it methodically. They think they can blitz France. So instead of having a war of attrition, because they've just fought a war of attrition against the French in the siege of Paris in the Austro-Prussian War, or not Austro-Prussian, Franco-Prussian War. Austro-Prussian War was a different thing over parts of Denmark. But so they've had a strategic, or a stalemate war with the French. They defeated on the battlefield. They besieged Paris for a long time. They don't want to have that happen again. They should have looked forward to that because they end up fighting that's the war they fight best against the French. But they think they want to blitz it. So they then go into France, which that's okay, sort of, kind of. But then they do also go into Belgium, which gets Britain in. So, yeah, definitely Serbia. I know we pull on Rick's Serbia's thing, but Serbia definitely causes the war with its assassination. Russia honors its sort of defensive agreements, which it shouldn't. It thought it was going to have a nice patriotic war and beat up on the weak Austrians, and it doesn't. Okay, Bulgaria wants in. Yeah, sure, you're in. No point not. Bulgarians signed the Tripartite Pact. Bulgaria wants in because it wants these two provinces back. It wants these two provinces back. And, yeah, that's mostly it. And sees that Germany's winning the overall thing. Was it Germany or Adolf Hitler's fault? Oh, Austria-Hungary's fault. Okay, age. Oh, yeah, no, yeah. The problem with the situation in Austria-Hungary versus Serbia is the delay, Rick. Austria delays its attack for a long time, and so in both public minds and diplomatic minds, there's a separation between the assassination of the Archduke Ferdinand and going to war. Though, of course, we don't necessarily go to war when somebody killed our diplomat, like when the Libyans killed our ambassador to Libya in Tobruk. Or no, Benghazi. Sorry, Benghazi. It was in Benghazi. So we don't necessarily go to war with that. So had the cause and effect been more closely related, because I think it's almost 6 months from when he's killed to when the war starts. Had it been like less than a month, you would have had a different reaction. Song requests. Well, I don't play songs on this, so I guess no. Oh, common sense. That's a very uncommon thing. So yeah, Rick. Saying like, hey, people should do the right thing. Well, they never seem to do the right thing. Yeah, but they should. Well, yeah, they should. But yeah. So, okay. Well, this is mutually okay. Mutually practical engineering. So we can only do either specialized engineering or practical engineering. I want to cry. Can I cry now? Not really, but I want to cry. Why do you do this to me, mod makers? Yeah, and I do get the design philosophy out of a Podcat that they want to make this game about decisions. So you can't have everything. And I actually agree with that. You can't have everything. But how is practical engineering / resource efficiency gain and construction speed in conflict with, better artillery attack engineering and division speed movement? How is that in conflict? I get the idea, shall we say, if you were to say have something that was high quality versus production versus rapid cheap quality. I was talking to Lum the other day, one of our Team Gamer. Team Gamer, we are an award-winning esports team for War Thunder. We are placed in the top 50, and we got a blue medal from that in the World War series that was on. Okay, was it that close? Hey, well, Lumber, is that Lum you? You're okay. I didn't know that was you. You've changed your name because it's Lumberer 3. It isn't Lum or whatever I'm used to hearing. Hello. I know I said hi to you earlier. Yes, it's you. Okay, Lum. Good to have you here. People with different names and different formats. I don't always keep track. Sorry. Yes, so I had to talk with you, and you were talking about the crappy Russian production qualities of Russian tanks versus German tanks. And so if we were to say have a tech, no problem, but now I know who I'm talking to. Glad to have you here. So if we were to have a tech that says, high quality tank or aircraft or whatever manufacturing versus a tech that is, fast, manufacturing, and that affects reliability because reliability is an effect. How best to show it? Here with tank reliability, so reliability and attrition rates based on movement and combat, not specifically combat damage rates. So I could easily say, have two different could be in here in Tank Designer. Could be one factory that's reliability increase, but now this improves research speed, but that might slow production of tank, 5% slower tank production, 10% better reliability. So the tanks last longer, maybe, so I could see that versus a faster tank production, lower reliability. Make your choice. You can't have your cake and eat it too. I get that. I get that, and agree with that. Not just, I understand where you're coming from. But I don't see how practical engineering here, which here actually increases reliability. And this, so this isn't meant, because then this would be mutually exclusive here. Okay, now, so here I agree with this. This part I agree with as I'm understanding this. So we could do great works. And yeah, this part I fully agree with. This is just exactly what I was talking about. So great works, factory output up 15%, or we can do quality manufacturing, reliability up 15%. That I agree with, and would demonstrate a practical difference between Soviet versus German production capabilities. But I don't see how, and yeah, super soldiers, which is sort of divisions increases versus, you know, high-tech equipment. Okay, do you want good training or do you want high-tech equipment? I don't see this as mutually exclusive, but I sort of, they're making it so. This I fully see. This I don't get, and I at some point I very well may make the choice, but I don't want to make it right now. Don't need to make it right now, but I don't like that. So yeah, that is not a good design aspect of this game. Doesn't mean that this is terrible or anything like that. We're going to do the computing machine now. So yeah, that is my thoughts on this. And because I do design mods, I do design the game, if you will. So I'm very interested in those kind of aspects and the choices. And so, okay, let's take a look at this. Geberg's division templates. Okay, that's better. So we want to change it to the Alpenjäger division so that it has the engineers attached to it. And we want to change this to the Alpenjäger division because otherwise it's the same, just a little better. And we are going to come over here and we're going to do +1, so it's 1. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to go over to the Alpenjäger division. And no, we don't want to, no, I'm messing this up. Okay, don't care about that. We want to train one of these. And we will put it out here in the training area for them. Now that we have radios, that's good. Armored skirts, okay. $140 days. I want to do the Jaegers first. Let's do the Folsom Jaegers, and let's come back up here and research better machine guns. What front region does Mountain Division interest you? Well, mountain divisions, of course, are useful in various rough terrains. Of course, we have Norway and that. And when you get down into the Caucasus, there also can be good cold weather divisions. What I want to see is just how well the Jaeger divisions do in things like swamps and rough terrain invading the Soviet Union. But it's just good to have some tailor-made divisions. Yeah, we'll build a few more of these now that we've increased our fuel production capabilities. Now we're back to, well, a little over a year, but no longer 5 years to catch up to our fuel capacity, which means we need to continue to increase our fuels because we are barely using fuel for some naval exercises. Once we get all of our air operating and our motorized divisions driving around, that will massively suck up fuel. Establish Volkswagen. Demand suiting land. I think we'll do that now. What is Czechoslovakia doing? Diplomacy. The air is our sea is what they're doing. Okay. Wish I knew what, which might give me a clue as to what they, you know, have done before, because like if they built things that improve the number of factories or were doing that, that would be good for me when I take it over. New resources, yeah. I guess we're starting on the Sudeten question now. It is 38 and in May. Yeah, caucuses are still a while to come, but I'm looking at the likelihood of pursuing down into places like Ethiopia, pursuing into Iran, which are mountainous regions. I don't know specifically that I plan on going into war with Turkey, but you know, now I don't know where my mountain troops are necessarily going to be, and I'm not the best at forward planning, meaning if I sort of kind of think, because Yugoslavia, there's a lot of mountainous, I keep clicking non-mountainous, there's mountainous terrain down here and here. Is it necessary in Yugoslavia? No. If I have mountain troops in the region, I will definitely use them. But if I have mountain troops that are still garrisoning Norway, does that mean I'll get them down to Yugoslavia and Greece in time? Maybe not, because I'll probably do that in 40 instead of wait to 41. But there's definitely elements that can use that. So having a few mountain divisions in battles can really help turn the tide. And like these, particularly because they've been down in Austria here, are cold specialization, so they're acclimatized there and not in hot, because that's an either or, which I agree with. So yeah, they're useful in different places. Okay, the 1938 World Cup, great. No, Turkey, you know, if Turkey's surrounded by Axis countries and it's getting a lot of demand to it, yeah, it would succumb to it. But so long as the question is in doubt, it's not going to. Turkey has no interest in going to war. Turkey has very little. You may have little bits of border pieces with some empire, you know, French control or something that it might want, but it has no great ambitions to expand. Turkey, Ataturk's Turkey, which that's who this Turkey is and functioning at this time, wants to be the Turkic nation. It wants to get all of its peoples to be Turkic. So Kurds, they want to call them Mountain Turks, and they want to Turkify them. They want to decurdify them. They're not racially looking at these people. They're looking at them culturally. So yes, they did the Armenian genocide, not because the Armenians, they may even use terms like race because that was what was common back then, but they're really not so much looking at the genetic stock. They're looking at the cultural stock. So they want to create a unified Turkish nation. They don't want to be the Ottoman Empire. They're not looking at being, you know, taking over large areas of non-Turkish land, because they're just going to be filled with non-Turkish people. So they're not interested in that. So there's no like upside, like, will you join with us this time and you can get back the Ottoman Empire? They're going, we don't want that crap. We don't want a bunch of Arabs in our country. We want to be Turks. We want Turkish. We want Turkey to be powerful. We want Turkey to be, you know, a good nation. And sure, it might want a few random islands, or, you know, there are some Turks living in Cyprus or whatever. You know, it might want a little bit, but it's not enough to go to war when there's a question of who might win this war. So, and it's worried about Soviet intervention. It's worried about Western intervention, you know, because, you know, France or Britain or whatever, it's worried about that. So unlike, say, Bulgaria, who wants to get back some territory, or Hungary, who wants to get back some territory, it really doesn't want to get back most. Like, we can talk about a little border bits here and there, or, you know, maybe over here, little border bits it might want, but it doesn't want big stuff. And so it's not, you know, Turkey does join the Allies before the end of the war, mostly as an anti-Soviet ploy, but and that's, you know, very, very late in the war. So it's wants to make sure that, you know, the Allies have already, I think they've already taken Rome by the time they come in, and already done the D-Day invasions and are pushing in. There's no chance for the Germans to win, is when they come in. So, you know, I could maybe see that, you know, if Rommel is in Baghdad and whoever, von Manstein or whoever is in Moscow, and the front is back here, and Italy is in full control down here, I could maybe see at that point where it's sort of pointless that they come in. If I'm going mountain troops with Germany, I'm normally taking control of Italy. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Lum, and I definitely get your idea of world conquest, but I guess I'm too much of a historically based player to go, what does Hitler want with a bunch of Italians? You know, leave Italy for the Italians. Yeah, it's not where he wants to grow his, you know, he wants living room. He wants Germany to be the strong nation, but he wants to grow east, is where he wants to grow. So he has no interest in Italy. Italy suggests an exchange of technology that will bring our nations closer. Yes, excellent suggestion. So, research naval doctrines and that. Okay, gets, and yeah, okay, go for that. Okay, we're still needing more oil production, so let's add that and add that. See, I also have to look whether, because I like to play this war imagining not like, oh, I could just conquer conquer every country for the sake of conquering it. I like to look at it at a historical perspective. But conquering Italy, yeah, it is, to sort of go to optimistic knowledge, something of the sick man of the Axis. But do you really want to spend the effort to occupy Italy, wherein you can have it as an ally and send some troops down to help defend it? You know, I'd just rather do that than... What do we need? What do we need? What do we need? Okay, we're going to expand our infantry division training, and we're going to do a motorized division training. That's all looking good. Maritime patrol aircraft, we're getting some transport planes. Fighters are going big time. Medium bombers, heavy fighters, a little bit. Yeah, heavy fighters. We'll expand on the heavy fighters. Trying to do this somewhat well thought out. And so we're going to add a motorized infantry division to the training slot. And we will add unit and adjutant. And let's put the motorized near where we start out the panzer divisions, because they're going to work in tandem. Kingdom of Romania wants to join. Okay, well, we'll take it. Now, of course, Romania, Kingdom of Romania joins the Axis, does not want to be a member of the Axis. They want to be aligned with France, particularly. But France says no, because not that the French don't want, and even at this time period, I mean, this is way early, historically. They haven't even gone over the Czechoslovakia thing. In 1936, Romania asked France for an alliance. France says no because France knows, and they're mainly looking at the Soviet Union at that in 36 as the big threat. France knows, the French government knows, the French people aren't going to go to war fighting for Romania over a Soviet invasion. Germany is on the distant horizon as a possible threat, but not what they're really looking at. So France won't do it. And even, you know, pushing with all this stuff, France doesn't want to go to war. Okay. More fighters, bombers, medium, bomber increase. Okay, there we go. Now, yeah, more of these guys. I meant I get that you don't want to go for world conquest, but it's like the French. Yeah, Italy is made to lose, but taking it early gives Germany a huge industrial boost with barely any big losses. Yeah, I hear that, and I understand. I would just rather say send some mountain divisions to go fight along here with them if this happens. Now, I've never seen in any of my playthroughs Italy get defeated by France when I'm playing as Germany. Not that if you leave things alone long enough, but I've never seen them do that. I have seen the French AI push into Tripoli and a little bit, you know, down here, but I've not seen them push into Italy in my experience. Munich conference. Okay, so we get the Sudetenland. Okay, it's all happening a little fast. Slow this down while they retreat out of there. Okay, so that grabs us, well, 3 new military, 4 new civil factories there, and an aluminum mine, a steel mill, and another military factory in this little bit there. So that helps us out considerably. And now, which we thought about before, we're going to start with some anti-aircraft and yeah, that looks good. And some armored cars. Okay. Now we're not going to pursue, partially just as early, partially. Okay, Italian alliance. Don't know if that's useful. But we're going to do reassert eastern claims, which will, well, let's take a quick look over here at our own air doctrine. Okay, nice stuff, but I don't know how it helps them. Yeah, we won't wait on this. We'll push reassert eastern claims. Again, Memel was a majority German population city area. Does that mean it gets to belong to Germany? Well, of course, Hitler thinks so. It's one of those cases that if you had followed the primary tenet of Wilson's 14 points, that local areas should decide what nation they should be part of, whether independent or part of another nation. In that principle of, you know, sort of majority rules, it should be German, because it was a German population majority, very much so. Maybe not quite as percentage heavy as Danzig, but it was fairly that. So there is justification on that, on those grounds for Memmel's claim, or Germany's claim to Memmel. It was more to give Lithuania, because this is definitely the bigger port than whatever this thing is up here. Give them a port and a view to the sea for Lithuania. And sure, sometime in the past Lithuania owned it, but then sometime in the past Lithuania owned a huge chunk of land out here, sort of part of Poland, Lithuania union thingy. Just because somebody owned it once doesn't mean that they have rights to it. But just because you have a different ethnic minority in there that's a majority locally doesn't mean that it's the country belongs to somebody else either. You know. Okay, now we're coming up to 100% stability. War support's getting good. We have a fairly decent amount of men. We will want to go to better conscription eventually, but what we're okay, we're building lots of political power. War economy. That's probably what we should do. Limited exports, extensive conscription, training time. That just increased training time. Let's go for. This is unhistorical as well. Consumer factory goods. Oh, it's actually going to reduce that down, but yeah, okay. Hitler did not go to a war economy until late 41, early 42. He was still just sort of the partial. Ship designer. Well, if anything, we're going to do is submarines. So let's put Blum and Voss in charge of it. Now, we're not doing it now, but fairly soon, we're going to research maritime patrol aircraft improvements. So, and we've done researching our heavy fighter for a while, so we should probably see about, okay, torpedo bomber, tactical bomber, range, reliability, naval attack will increase if we do that. Yeah, I think Blum and Voss will do that next. It was too late then for Germany when he did that late. And you're talking about going over to the war economy. No, that isn't why Hitler's losing. This is also, I think, a little bit of an incorrect thing going on out there. Because we can look at the Battle of France. That was a war of decision, of maneuver and decision, not a war of attrition. So if the French had twice as many tanks as they did, I still see Germany winning, just because France cannot effectively coordinate its tank attacks on the enemy, and when it's in contact, and yeah, Lum and Arno and others of us play War Thunder together, and when we're playing sort of random battles, they're sort of balancing out. So they balance a bad French tank with an early Panzer II kind of thing to make similar sorts of rating. But even there, if you look at the early Panzer IV rating versus an early French H-35, H-39 or whatever they have in there, the R-35, the German tanks are just better, even at the same battle rating. And if you were to really do a historical at this time kind of thing, like in the World War modes, you'll find German tanks just outclassing basically everything the French have. And you only have, we have the Char B that's really hard to kill. Okay, yeah, you've got one tank. It's not very maneuverable, not very structurally strong. So doubling the number of French tanks in relation to the German tanks, I still think France loses that war. Now, if you doubled the British tanks and actually had them effectively in the field, Britain, because it's much more radio connected with its units, it's much more of a flexible fighting force, much more of a modern fighting force because it has a professional army. France has a conscript army. De Gaulle gets in so much trouble over his book, and I didn't realize this when I was first working on this thing, but he gets so much trouble with his book because he's developing this new theory of warfare, like Guderian is developing his theory. He's sort of doing it somewhat independently, and he titles book Towards a Professional Army. Well, the one thing the French government doesn't want is a professional army, so he titles it, hey, the thing that you hate. What? Like whatever you call it. Now they might have liked his tactical doctrines, his motorization doctrines, his flexible army doctrines, as opposed to entrenchment in super trench warfare of Maginot Line. They might have liked all of that, but because he didn't get any headway when he was promoting his theory within the army, so that's why he goes public with it. But had he did a different name of the book, it might have gotten a more receptive policy from the French civil government. So, yeah, had de Gaulle gotten his, it doesn't necessarily mean professional, means sort of long-term service, not conscript army. You can, because Britain does a conscript army once the war is going, and it remains a motorized, radio-connected, flexible fighting force. So had you doubled the size of the BEF, in effect, at least in its armored motorization, the Bren gun carriers, the tanks, armored cars, that could have affected the outcome because they can effectively use it. Okay. So you get to Germany versus Russia. That's the critical point here. Germany could, with a little different preparation, in my opinion, have done a two-stage war with the Soviet Union. One stage is season one. We sort of talked about this with Napoleon earlier. Take a bunch of land, secure it before winter comes, and have the preparation of fixing railroads that are, railroad bridges that are destroyed, railroad generally are destroyed, dealing with changing the track width and all of that stuff. Have all that sort of planned out so that season one, you take a lot of land, even as you're taking the first bridges over the whatever the hell this river here, it's Brest-Litovsk, whatever this river here is, rebuilding whatever bridges that get blown up by the Soviets, railway bridges at day one, fixing railway. So it's not like, we get there and we stop and then we start fixing. From day one, you're fixing infrastructure problems as the army is moving forward. Have that planned out. Have reasonably achievable goals simply by driving distance. Because a lot of the divisions, armored divisions that were moving towards Moscow, at least 50% of their tanks were out of action because of mechanical difficulties. I know Lum, and he's right in praising German mechanical design elements and quality of manufacture, but just simply driving the tanks this far knocks them out of effective action that needs to be, they're not like been damaged from any combat. They're just like mechanically need repair and maintenance, and they've been pushed and not maintained well because it's go, 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 go. And so that at least 50% of the tank strength. Now, they're down below 50% tank strength because they've also had combat losses. So the panzer forces that are sort of making it to the edge of Moscow are weak just simply from driving there. And it's not just the panzer, the tank element. It's also the trucks and the armored cars and all of that stuff. So the army is worn out. And so going from German border to Paris or German border to, the west coast of France, that's a, fairly good distance, and sort of tires out in that not just, guys need sleep, but tires out the ability of the German army to move. This is obviously a much greater size. So had they just simply planned out good, effective moves, secured the areas, won those battles, stopped at the right times with the infrastructure repair, and then wait for the spring to happen again, and then do that a second time against the Soviet Union, sort of a two-stage affair. I think the second one I would have tried to get to Leningrad in season 1, if you will, and I'm saying campaign season 1, with some naval operations to help out. And whether you do any naval landings or not, I'm not necessarily sure that if you could effectively do it, it would help out. But I'm also thinking naval operations as in supplying, naval, bringing up fuel and replacement parts and replacement vehicles. And it's not that far from, Danzig or Memel or whatever to Leningrad. Not that this isn't, it's a little further from the border, but it's just here with naval power, you can better support it logistically. So push into there. So season 2 would be, to take Leningrad, Stalingrad kind of thing, and plan it out so that is not an exhausted army that's getting to Moscow. It's not the army, because Germany loses so much equipment in the winter counteroffensive just because it's frozen and can't be withdrawn. Literally, they lose tanks and other equipment just because it can't be withdrawn from the front, because it's all frozen up when the counterattack happens. And that's because the German army is overextended. It can't dig in well because it's waited until the ground is frozen to halt, so it didn't make fortifications when it could dig in. You could have easily made a situation that had better dug in, better supported for the winter. Whether you knew that there was going to be a counterattack coming at all, just sort of like, well, there could be one, so let's, sort of play the, well, what if, General, if they counterattack? Well, they don't have any forces. Well, just what if? Well, then you should dig some entrenchments, So play the what if game, entrench, like I say, build railway, repair, whatever, get that all going, and have that there, and have some reserves to be able to move. If you also planned ahead and had antifreeze in your vehicles. Russia can get so cold that even antifreeze freezes up and doesn't, because the oil will freeze at some point in the vehicles. So it can get even too hot for that. But had you had a better preparation, you could have done reserves that deal with any major thrust and counter it, so you don't have the disastrous falling back from the Russian winter counteroffensive. And so you would have had an army that was not as badly damaged and already had been, sending replacement or additional units of more tanks and more armored forces. So campaign season 2, a second sort of blitz into Russia, I think that could have secured the greater western part of Russia and cut them off from the Caucasus. Now, with the border somewhere between Moscow and the Urals, I don't know whether the border is right on the Urals or just, here at Gorky or somewhere just a bit past Moscow. I don't know where the border, the front line, shall we say, would be, but somewhere here I think they could do that without the need for huge, greater elements of production. More is always better, Rick, but that doesn't mean that the war is lost. It is more the strategic decisions. And once you have the winter counteroffensive and you have such the major setback on equipment loss, because it is huge, and I don't even know if there's good records on it, how much is lost, but a lot of it is lost. Lots of artillery pieces that just can't be withdrawn because either the horses are dying, because the horses may be fine in a a shed of some sort that's built and they're given feed for the winter, but once you pull them out in that Russian winter and you start making them tow artillery pieces or other important things, they're going to start to freeze to death. And so the horses are going to freeze to death. The trucks are going to be locked up because they don't have antifreeze. So just so much equipment. The soldiers may be marching out. The divisions may be coming out in somewhat of a shape of still being a fighting force, but they've lost their equipment that needs replacement. So you're replacing lost equipment instead of equipping new divisions or improving units from bad to better equipment. You're just trying to play catch up. And so that is the strategic decision that dooms Germany. An extra 500 tanks, just because of the problems, even if they had taken Moscow, doesn't, because there would have just been a counter-offensive at Moscow instead of somewhere else, still dooms Germany. So then it becomes a war of production, a war of attrition, and Germany's going to lose the war of attrition, the war of production, just is going to lose that. And I think on that note, we're going to end the episode here. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. You can follow me over on YouTube. That's gamer_1745, and we love the interaction with the viewers. And of course, liking the videos and commenting. Again, the interaction, it's really good. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.